Guys, we will be starting. We are waiting for others to join. Normally people have sometimes technical difficulties, so we would be waiting around 4 minutes. So we'll be starting 4:07 Central European time. Michał, how is going in these times of staying at home?
I mean, like everybody, I must say I'm a bit of lucky that I currently live in the house. That's where I have a small garden, so my kids are free to roam around and have fun. If we were living in apartments, that might be difficult, both for them and for us, honestly.
Very much. Actually, we are also lucky here that we have a forest nearby, so we can survive in that manner. But kids are also getting faster tired. That's what we notice because they don't have enough activities. Just for people who are joining, just to confirm that we are starting officially our interview 7 p.m. Central European time, or to make it simple, in 2 minutes. So just to allow everyone to join, we see people joining, and as usual, we have full house around 4 minutes past. So let's wait a little bit more. So we'll be starting with conversation.
Yeah, I'm really flattered for you to invite me to this, Marco, to be honest.
The pleasure is definitely mine. Hello, Norbert. And for everyone else, near your chat window, you have a hand symbol where you can you can play. You can raise a hand. We will ask you if you agree, disagree. But also we do have a lot of topics to discuss. Michał has a very extensive experience, so we will definitely have things to talk about, but we would really wait for your questions, and whatever you write there in the chat box or in a Q&A mode, definitely we will try to answer too. So let us see, we still have people joining, and we'll be starting in 4 past, so just in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let us see where we are with the time. I got confirmation that you can hear us. That's good. Already a small win for today.
Hello, Norbert. Hello, everyone.
Good. So I guess that we can start. Hello, everybody. Hello, Michał. First of all, it's absolutely my pleasure to have you as a partner to talks. Idea of these talks is actually to share your experience in project management and leadership, as you have both, and simply to speak from your heart, to speak from your experience, and simply to share your experiences with our listeners. And maybe as a first thing, maybe for people who don't know you yet, just to introduce yourself in a way, how you get where you are, how you learned about project management, how you learned about leadership, what was your path until this moment. So just for our listeners to actually understand how come that you are Michał Mokrzycki right now.
Thank you, Mark. I will be delightful. So currently I am working in my third major company. I have 15 plus years of experience in IT industry. So I spent first 10 years in the petrochemical branch or a sector in IT, holding various IT roles from the help desk technician through the coordination up to project manager and IT site manager for the various offices. After this time, I joined IBM I've spent a good 5 years in IBM when I met Marco, and I can see some of the people from the call, which was an absolute pleasure. So I've spent nearly a year and a half within the role of project manager, and then I was honored to have a team of my own. I have hired a couple of people. I have been leading a couple of teams. So those were really, really good people, and I'm keeping contact with really quite a few of them still currently. So after this time, I have joined Future Processing. This is a software company that I'm currently working for over a year. I have started within a role as a team leader, kind of an agile project manager, and currently I'm holding a role of client engagement manager, being responsible for the biggest client and the most complex one, to be quite honest. And so through the course of my career, I was leading the teams starting from 2 or 3 people up to 30, 35. So it was quite a broad experience, and it would be my honor to share that with you.
It's interesting, actually, to see this growth, and when you know from the bottom of technology, actually what you are doing as a PM, and maybe we'll cover some of these topics later. And as you may know, actually you do know, the educations that we are creating, the Spark method that we have created, is finding this balance between hard and soft skills in a project management and general leadership. And we do invite people actually who represent both. So you have to know some of the procedures, techniques, processes, but then again you need to have these soft skills and values as a person actually to lead properly. And that's the reason why you are as a guest here, because you do represent both. And
I would add, Marco, that you need to have a bit of sparkle in yourself for the leadership to be a good
exactly. That's a good reference. So maybe we would lead also our conversation through these areas. So maybe to start with these more technical ones, and then to go to leadership, just to have overall picture. But maybe first to answer on some of the more general questions regarding project management. And one of the general questions that is asked is how project management can help you in a career, and generally, are those skills that you gain in project management transferable? So how can I implement them in a real life? And will it work in all companies? So meaning, is this thing of a project management implementable somewhere else, in some other companies, in some other continents? So what's your experience there? Having been in different companies, in different surroundings, what's your experience there?
Okay, it's a really good question. So starting actually from the early roles, you are 99% going to be working as doing part of some project. So you are to be a project member to start with when you are on an entry period in your career. So if you are a part of the project, it's really good to know the rules of engagement, the rules that this project is running for. And once you get to be more and more experienced, you see that some of the people are using some kind of techniques, some things that they do actually work. You think they can sometimes predict the future, which tends to be honestly good planning and good estimation from the project manager. So I think this was one of the first things that interest me, because I wanted to be more organized than I actually was. So I was looking at the options to learn from my senior colleagues. How do they do this? So is it transferable? I would say absolutely, absolutely. In every aspect, in every role that you have, either you're a manager, either you're a project manager, either your portfolio program, whatever. At some point of time, somebody will ask you to do some kind of a project. And it's at that time, it's good to have a skill set that would allow you to do this. So
Go ahead. Sorry.
So, for me, learning project management was a part of, growing up and being a mature and experienced employee and bringing value to both my current company and to customer.
And when having experience that you have in a different companies, so once when you, let's say, learn some kind of a project approach, let's say, of course, not everything is the same, and not approaches are not the same, but do you find what you have learned in IBM is implementable in future processing or any similar? Do you find that skills gained in one place help you in another?
Yeah, in key principles, of course, yes. There is a big difference between the two last companies that I was working, Fluor and IBM, because they were using generally, I would say, old style project management. So waterfall approach, which was mostly PMI, and in future processing, which is a software company, we use mostly Agile. We use Scrum. The waterfall is rarely used. However, we also tend to use it for some elements. So the transferable part is always there. And when I'm speaking to my fellow colleagues that are holding similar positions in either in IBM, either in current company, future processing, so we tend to understand each other better if we have a similar background. And we, been giving together one project. So we look at each other saying, yeah, so what do we start? Risks. I said, oh, yes, this is the first thing we start with. So there is a connection, and you immediately know that the person that you're going to be working with has this knowledge. You don't have to explain a lot of things, how this is useful, what are the mechanisms, what are the tools, what is the purpose. He or she, if he has the skill set, he automatically becomes more valuable to you in your project.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because that is a question that we are getting and often. And I often say that the reason why I like project management is that it teaches you life skills, right? So in our course we have a quote unquote project example where we organize making a homemade bread. If you have been on one of our webinars, homemade bread as a project, right? So even if you take these things to your private life, of course, this is a ridiculously simple example, but actually you can transfer those. And I guess that you're finding that also on your side, especially those things regarding leadership and how to treat people generally.
Absolutely. I believe that there's going to be a moment in everybody's lives that they're going to buy an apartment or build a house. And this is going to be your biggest project. And as good you are prepared to it, the more pleasurable or less painful it will be. If you want to train, for example, some of your project skills and see if they are transferable, start with something you like. Start with your hobby.
That's a good example, actually. That's a good advice.
Start with your hobby, because this would be something that would give you pleasure. You know how to navigate around this item, and if you apply some project management techniques to it, you will have good memories of it.
That's excellent advice. Actually, I'm not sure that I heard it before. So actually, it's very, very good one. May I steal it?
Yeah, it's yours. It's yours.
Excellent. One of, again, more general questions, and we had discussions on this also, is that will project management be taken over by artificial intelligence? meaning on how to plan things, how to automate things. And we had discussions before on that. What's your personal take? So when you hear such a question, what things may or may not be taken over by artificial intelligence?
I think I actually read a few articles about this, how AI is going to, possibly be a threat to project management and to project managers. And at the end of the day, there is no artificial intelligence in this words, or maybe in another, that has a gut feeling. Which project managers have and are learning, and they are growing after a year. So, for example, if you see some kind of a schedule, you look at it, you glance at it and saying, this ain't gonna work. So, but somebody say, all the data checks out, it's good, it should work. And you say, no, something is not right. And that something is, I believe that is a key to us humans versus the technology. Artificial intelligence can aid project management in a great way. For example, imagine that you, as a project manager, has your own personal assistant that remembers majority of the things that you should do and just reminds you, is sitting there in the background saying, have you sent this email? Have you shared this proposal? Saying, please, I believe you haven't reviewed your schedule in a long time. I bet something's changed. So I believe this would be the best purpose to use AI. But in terms of the decision making, we have to remember that decisions made by computers and not by humans are going to be based solely on data. And as we know, project and life is not only about data. There are something more to it. And if there are people that have this sparkle in themselves, it's fun to work with them, honestly. That can be people that are really extremely competent. They do everything what they should, according to every methodology. But somehow you don't want to work with them. And you say, why? Because, he or she is doing everything good. So why I am not into this person? So that's I think the second part that we're gonna transfer to, which is leadership. So if you want to be a good project manager, you have to have a good soft skills.
Absolutely, and we have maybe the majority of our topics are in that area, and often it's referred also to this human touch, right? So how do you treat people? From my perspective, historically looking, people often have been afraid of automation of a lot of things. But my personal approach is also, if something can be automated, it's so simple, it can be automated and so on. So be happy, because then you can actually concentrate on something that matters, on something where you as a human being, as your thinking is necessary, actually. Not to, and as you, I think that you're absolutely right, it can be a huge aid huge help to project delivery, right? But then you go, as AI automates more and more parts, then actually you go to higher and higher level of thinking, what is actually what we humans like to do, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's taking all those things that are simple but time consuming. Yeah. Let's us focus on the more complex stuff, on the things that we usually didn't have a chance to look at or work with, because we were so maybe not obsessed, but those things that took us the most times are usually the ones that can be automated. So if you look how big projects on how the people are working right now versus 50 or 100 years ago, I believe there's a huge progress in it. So we are constantly advancing as a species in this because we can do more complex things. If you tell anyone from 100 years ago that the people will be able to break an atom, they would say, no, it's not impossible. It's impossible. We cannot do it. And as we have automated, as we have properly managed a massive project, those impossible things are becoming possible.
No, absolutely. And we have here the first question. It's from Norbert, and it's actually for both of us. So, guys, just to say to the rest, please be free to ask any questions that you would like. We will try to answer them as we go. So we will simply postpone the topics that we wanted to cover. So Norbert is asking, what is the key element you've taken, learned, or gained from IBM, people, processes, that you actively use in your current company? So question to both. So Michał, going to you. So what I mean, I guess that we gained so much that it is hard to summarize, but what would be your let's say first 1, 2, or 3 choices, let's say?
I would say first thoughts of IBM and its processes. I'm going to answer this in a two-way, regarding people and regarding processes. You know, if you're in a company that is heavily processed, you might not always be happy with all the procedures you need to take because you believe that they are time-consuming, they are overhead, and they, you know, make you further from your goal or your objective. If you are in the company that is lacking procedures, you miss them. Really, I can tell you that you miss them, but it depends on which role you are in and how well you need to automate, because you know this is what processes and procedures are for automation. So you don't have to explain every single time why, for example, something is needed. Is just, you know, being also a tool that is able to I would say manage a larger scales of either investment, either bigger teams. But what I learned from IBM in terms of people is that those procedures cannot replace the good human relationships that people are creating. So I think that was the key thing for me to have a good net of contacts, good network of contacts, the people that I was really able to rely on, that I had an honest intention towards them and they had an honest intention toward me. So if I was struggling with some of the processes, I know where to look for help, and they knew that as well. So I think that was one of the greatest things I've learned in IBM.
That's nicely put, actually. So first, that processes are there to help you to automate, and then other thing is that actually people create processes, right? So it's again to help to us, not to stick to them blindly, right? And actually on my side, on my part, I wanted to start from another point, but you reminded me about the complexity of a big company, and maybe for IBM was the biggest company to date where I worked, and I jumped from a smaller one. And I guess it learned me first to orient myself into such huge matrix organization, right? Where you work instantly with people from different countries, continents, time zones, cultures, different functional relations, line management, functional management, so that you can actually orient yourself among hundreds of daily contacts. What is probably something that help us even in a daily life to simply connect different topics and contexts quicker, maybe. So simply being able to orient in such environment. What on the other hand of these people area, IBM was a company where I started to lead teams and the people, and I guess that I gained tremendous amount of experience and clarified absolutely importance of how you treat people, how you treat your team members. What are the effects of a poor management, and what are the effects of excellent management? Not only on a business performance that is almost clear, but also on a personal life of a team members. So what is effect? What are the effects of poorly led teams and very well teams? And that is not to throw shade to anyone. It's just simply so huge organization that you have had a good and the bad examples. And I think that was the moment when I simply had clearly in my mind how I want to treat team members and my teams, right? That I definitely use now daily basis wherever I work, right? So and currently in Fujitsu, where we simply transfer these best practices into life.
Mm-hmm. Just an interesting thing, Marco. How many people do you believe you have met in IBM? 100, 200,
Thousands. I have to say thousands. It's two countries, because I worked in IBM in Serbia, where I had also have still my friends and colleagues. I covered the whole Balkans in one of the accounts that we led. And then when I came to Poland, our center had several thousands of people. Of course, I haven't met everyone, but then all of our colleagues across companies and countries, and actually many of them are actually online with us, with no other relations but former colleagues, and simply having them on a call. It's just a pure pleasure, and we are sending you love online. Excellent. So maybe I see that our conversation goes smoothly, and that we will definitely not cover all topics as we actually foreseen. But maybe to start now with these, let's say the first area that we have in our course, and that is communication strategy. How to communicate, how to manage your daily techniques. And especially in big organizations, we have these too many inputs, I would say, too many contacts on a square second, if I can say like that. Mm-hmm. And how do you, from your experience, how do you organize when you are overwhelmed, when you have tens of people contacted you in a span of a few hours, and you have hundreds of tasks? How you manage actually when you are in such a situation?
Okay, I start with panic. That's
actually honest.
But once it's over, I'm trying to use techniques that I've taken from other people, and then I've taken from literature. So basically for the project managers, and that was one of my favorite questions during the interview, saying how are you prioritizing? You need to prioritize. You need to sometimes estimate the degree of severity of such a request. Is it something that you have to do it right now, or is it something that can wait? So I think, and what are the consequences that those things will wait, or be done in the later time? So I think this is a key to a proper time management and task management. I must say I was majority of my career overwhelmed by work, because I was always happy to take some more, and it led, so it led to a situation that I was failing to deliver some of the things, and when I got the opportunity to go on the international contract, so I thought, saying, this time I need to do something different. So I had a good background, good network of people that are able to help me. but I said, I'm going to put an extra buffer to the task that I'm doing. So if somebody asks me how much time it will take to deliver this one, I'm always adding some percent, because what I've learned over this experience that the people are able to wait longer for the task that you promised to accomplish. But if you are late, it's automatically creates some sort of a feeling in the head saying, this person is working good, but I'm not actually sure if I can rely on him. So that, I think this is something, a good advice for the people that are starting or in the middle of the career, saying always take additional 5 minutes to the task. Not every task, but just for yourself. You can always ask for more time. Whenever you are negotiating with client and the client just throws a heavy argument on you, you can always ask for extra time just to, take a couple of breaths and use your brain properly. So I would say this in the communication, you have to be, cautious on what's for whom you need to deliver the consequences, and remember to take a bit buffer for the uncertainties.
Yes. Often people say, I'm so busy, I don't have time to think. And actually, if you don't think, then actually you cannot make things better, right? So you are just rushing through these tasks. And what you said, it's just a real life project management scenario, right? So we want to, let's say, please our stakeholders, and then we overpromise. We say it will be 12 o'clock Thursday, and even then when we say it will be that time, we know it will be 3 hours later. So actually, what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. We need to have that, and definitely there in terms of being overwhelmed. Often we speak about meetings. We are on the meetings all the time, and we have 8 hours meetings during the day, and then you have work to do, and it's of absolute importance to have these meetings efficient. And maybe that's now from your experience, why meetings are so important and how to organize them. And then what we get as a questions often is why meeting minutes are so important. So why agendas are important, and at the end of the day, what is your preferred way to meet someone? So all of these meeting topic that is a building block of or fundaments of a cooperation of a project management. How you, from your experience, how you organize there? What is your preferred way to meet to meet team or someone?
For the person like me that loves to meet people and talk for hours, good structuring of a meeting is a key. So for the meeting is productive, and that someone will accept another invite, to be quite honest. And as you said, a good meeting instituted by someone who wants to be a project manager has to have an agenda. Has to have a good structured points, and you have to keep to those points once you are conducting your meeting. Sometimes you need to a bit of drive the meeting. Sometimes discipline, put a time slots on some of the points that you want to talk with, and you also need to be clear. You can do this either an agenda at the start of the meeting, saying what would you like to accomplish.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think this is a key, and I've learned this quite further in my career. So I wanted to just meet with people, talk about the problem, and said, okay, fine, we talk about it. That's great, and nothing happened.
Exactly.
And nothing happened really. Or we just started with we got 5 subjects to talk to, and we just covered 2, and that was it. So I believe time slots are really important if you have in things in agenda that needs to be discussed and covered by this meeting.
Often we say also some organizations or teams has a timekeeper, actually a person who is measuring a time for some topic, and actually not letting those talkative as you are and I am to overrun, right?
True to that. And once you let's assume that you conducted a really good meeting, you have some things that have been agreed on, and you are going to another meeting, and to another, and to another. And as you say, sometimes you can have 10 meetings, 8 meetings a day. My personal record is 13 meetings, practically non-stop, back to back. So sometimes a good practice is, ask people if they're okay that we finish 3 minutes before, or we try to finish before. So I would be able just, to sketch minutes of meeting. And why minutes of meeting is important? It's a crucial thing, because we no longer agree things on paper. Say we agree to this. Here's my sign. Here's your sign. It's perfect. Email has to be sufficient. So as we are occupied by a lot of communication, a lot of inputs, sometimes things slip our mind. Sometimes things slip our client minds, especially those things that they don't want to, reconfirm. And if we forget about it, they're going to say, okay, you're lost. So I think the minutes of meeting are crucial, even if they are short, even if they are brief. And it's really good to send those minutes of meeting, from my experience, within 24 hours, because afterwards it's going to be really difficult to remember everything. And it's a really nice gesture to send this minutes of meetings, asking the people if they have the same vision, if what you have agreed is there something that they understand it in a similar way that you did.
Yeah, the same understanding of things. That's often what we hear. That actually I understood one thing and then you understood another. So we need, I guess, to ask someone if he understood thing, or just to replay. Often they say replay someone what he said or she said. Right? So if just simply to reinforce understanding of a thing. So, Michal, if you would choose ways to communicate, if you would be able to rank the favorite ones, so you have emails, you have chat, you have audio conferences, you have audio conferences with the screen sharing, you have video conferences and face-to-face meetings. So, if you would rank those, what's your most favorite one? And then if you can, I don't know if you recalled all what I said, but actually
I actually do. It depends for what. It depends for what. If it's going to be sort of a brainstorming sessions, for me, having this over the internet using video conferences, it's fine, but in such a way, nothing beats a face-to-face meetings. I can see that there are, let's say, 10 or 12 or 20 people in the call. You are not able to listen to everyone. If you are in the same room, they can make some groups, or the communication can be done, more effectively. Personally, I love people. Yeah. So to me, being able to meet somebody in person, it's really, really something that drives me further. And, especially when you are working with clients, or when you have meetings with some higher executives, if you are doing this in person, of course, the stress is going to be higher because you are on the front line.
Yes.
But you have a huge advantage being able to read the body language. And this is something that if you use it wisely, if you pay attention, if the person is, still focused on what you're saying, that you can change your communication in such a way that this would be in a better interest of this person, and you leave a better mark. So if I'm not able to call to have a face-to-face, I like calling people. And in some companies, when I was calling people, the people said, "Michael, why are you calling me? Can you just send me a chat? Can you just send me an email?" I said, "No, because if I'm gonna call you, we're gonna resolve what I need to do in 20 seconds. It is effective, but what I've learned, it might be a bit rude. Because if you're calling someone, you are distracting him from or her from work that he was or she was performing. So what would be the best way for me, if I cannot meet somebody personally, is sending a chat, sending an email saying, I would really like to speak with you about this and that. So you prepare a person for contact. Please let me know when you will be able to have this discussion. And I found that this is actually the best way, because someone is replying or is not replying, which means they are busy. But someone is replying and say, "I just need to finish one email and I'll be right with you." And I can, then we can talk longer. It doesn't have to be 20 seconds. So I found such a way of communicating to be most effective.
That's a good point. Actually, it shows this empathy to another person. It's not you that is the most important person in the universe. So that actually that everyone has time with you, but it's for you. But it's interesting point. Well taken. It's very important one. Good. So now when we know how to communicate, when we know how to cooperate with the people and what are the best ways, normally we as a project managers, we start with the planning, right? So we start with work background structures or sprints, depending what your project is, what the topic is, and what the company is producing. So what's your preferred way to drill down the overall work that you need to do, depending on, regardless, maybe if it's agile methodology or a waterfall? Both, as you said, I guess have positives in their own right. But what's your preferred way to analyze? Okay, what is my scope? What I have to do? How do you approach when you get a project, probably 100 pages document to be done?
I can tell you that I've learned that it all depends on your personal qualities. Meaningly, there are people that, for example, that have a really engineering approach, saying, "Okay, I need to read all 100 pages to know what needs to be done, and I will make a really good work breakdown structure." There are people that say, "I'm just gonna read the first page with everything, and by only using this page, I already can start to create some sort of the work breakdown structure." Or somebody can say, goes to architect saying, "If you can tell me in, I don't know, 5 minutes, what is this project about, I will have a vision in my head that will help me to digest this further documentation." And I can tell you, I'm the last kind of a type that I need to have a title. I need to have a brief description of work to start with, because it positions my mind into what needs actually to be done. And while digesting the documentation, I know what is at the back of my head, what is the goal of it, what is the purpose. And the remaining things just help me to, break it down in pieces. So I would say it's very dependent, and you have to be self-conscious of what kind of a person you are. How do you digest information? And this consciousness will aid you a lot.
You said one thing that actually you almost repeated, but in different context, when we spoke about meetings. That you need to know what is the purpose, where you go. So this kind of a clarity about outcome, like what we want to do in a project, but also in a meeting. So it's I guess that what you are also it seems to me naturally repeating is that whatever we do, we need to know where we go, what is the outcome of what we want to do, right?
I think this is the part of project management that's gonna stay with me till the rest of my life. Saying that you have to know where you're going. If there is a project team, that has to be at least one person to know where we're going, and it's best that this would be a project manager.
That's excellent. Yeah, actually, if the answer is not there,
If the answer is not there,
exactly. We would organize definitely also conversations with our colleagues from a technical teams. So it would be beautiful to see their perspective if a project manager does not know where the project needs to go. So this is wonderfully put. So now when we know where to go, when we organize the work and we drill down the work, we spoke about this many times, and actually we had these experiences in our lives many times. And that is how we learn, how we progress, and how we lead our teams. And we spoke about that feedback many times. So how you give feedbacks, how you receive feedbacks, what is absolutely crucial. So there are two ways. So to your team, you're providing feedback also to your managers, but then also you are hearing feedback about yourself. So why giving and listening and getting feedback is so important from your perspective?
Oh boy, there are numerous of reasons, and I can tell you that my current company, FP, giving proper feedback is one of the key elements, key principles of its existence. To me, basically, feedback is something. It's a privilege that somebody is willing to share his opinion about either you, either some things that he or she struggles with. So feedback, it's I would say a really broad subject. It can be easy, it can be difficult, it can be, but for us and our job is to make sure it's meaningful. It's meaningful, so we have to create a proper environment, either in the company, either in our team, that the people feel free to share their ideas and to be honest with each other.
No, that's a home run idea.
Yeah, it is. And, from my experience, getting out feedback from technical people, it's particularly difficult. If, I had a comparison between, project managers, the people are working generally in project management in different levels, and they could, I would say, they were more easy with wording. So they were more easy saying what do they feel, what do they see, and getting this from the technical people requires a lot more effort, but their suggestions tend to be really, really good because they are really thought over. So as I said, first thing, you need to create an environment. Secondly, the people need to see that their feedback has an impact. Because if they do not see this, they're not going to share this for the second or for the third time, saying, why is he asking me if he's not doing anything with it?
Yeah, when it's not heard, right? When it's not understood.
Not heard. Even though that there are sometimes situations that you need to make a decision that is going to be really unpopular, or you don't, or you will make a decision that is against the feedback that you have received, I believe it's your obligation to return to your people, to the people that gave you feedback, saying, I had to make another decision. However, your feedback was crucial for me to take it.
That's excellent.
Your feedback, gave me another view on what can be done, what are the consequences from our end. is and to check that you're okay, that I didn't make a decision that would be in accordance to your feedback, but I want you to feel that you have been heard. And I saw on one of the things in the internet, on one of the videos, that was really one good question that was able to extract this kind of information, saying, what is the one thing that I can do that would make your job easier or better? So that's an example of a good feedback question.
That's powerful question, because it seems to me it reflects two ways in the kind of, so there are two perspectives. So first of all, I'm saying you something that you will perceive, and then actually I will benefit of it. So it's very complex context. Very interesting question. Good. I will steal that one also.
Yeah, go ahead. There's also one very important thing about feedback, especially if it's not very favorable. Either it's very favorable, you need to try to base on facts. You need to gather some facts, and sometimes if you want to have a real extent feedback, you're asking additionally, how have this situation impacted you? How have you felt in such situation when this maybe not very good thing happened to you? So it's bringing your human side to other people, that you're showing that you are not only a manager that coordinates your tasks, but you also are a leader, and a leader listens to the people.
That's what you said now. It's what I truly believe. Whatever the position is, and whatever the project is, project manager has to have leadership skills also, and simply to listen what people say, and to provide them with this environment where they can work. And before we actually go forward, we have one question from Poonam, and she would like to know what are the challenges faced by a project manager. So I guess that the whole webcast can be dedicated to this one question. Excellent question, Poonam. But let's do maybe a short brainstorming, Michał, here online about what are the challenges faced by a PM, starting from stakeholder management to planning activities, to providing this feedback that we spoke about. So what's your first thoughts on that topic?
Challenges faced by PM, I would say everything. This is the key of the role. It's not only management, it's the responsibility. Because in my idea and in my experience, project manager is responsible for everything, and even for the things, and especially for the things that there is nobody else is, responsible for. Yeah. To be quite honest, we have to also to remember that it's not always project manager job to do those things, to execute those things physically. But project manager, in my opinion, is and should be held responsible for everything that concerns his project. Either sticking to the scope, there are some items that might be out of scope of this one, but needs to be well defined. If it's not well defined, the people come back to the project manager.
Yeah, that's interesting take on that. How I would answer to that, Poonam, is everything that we do in project management is communication. 90% of things that we do is communication, right? And with whom? So with all of the stakeholders that are positively and negatively impacted in a project. And what Michał said is going directly to this stakeholder management. we one of the actually the first module in our course, Flowers Project Management Career by Spark Method. It's actually stakeholder map. So this is the first topic where you need to know everyone that you work with, and also the people who are positively and or negatively impacted by your project. So that actually now colliding all those different views, finding compromises between someone who wants to delay execution of a task and someone who wants it for yesterday, it's something that for me it's maybe the biggest challenge. So to have these tens of stakeholders that keep you responsible for everything, keep them informed properly, manage their expectations, and communicate in a way that is as clear for everyone as possible. And I think if you do that, if you clarify these responsibilities that Michał spoke about, if you have everyone in your project aligned in the, again, clarity about outcome and then how we will do this, then I guess that you are on a good path. But challenges are really numerous, and maybe Poonam, I think this can be a topic for the whole webinar. So thank you for the question. I think that we would organize the whole call just on this topic. What are the so maybe actually to start on that topic, speaking about challenges and feedback. So what you do, Michał, when feedback goes wrong? So what from your experience, what things goes wrong when feedback goes south, as they say?
Yeah, I had received a lot of feedback in my life. One was good, some of them bad, some of them were really bad, and some of them were really good. So I think you have to keep in mind from whose this feedback is originating and what is the purpose of it. Sometimes it's really, difficult if the feedback is, negative, because it's, touches your ego. And as we say, we know that some of the project managers' ego can be as high as the skyscrapers they are building. So yeah, so it can be difficult, but learning this ability to cherish from this feedback, it's really something priceless. And also, receiving good feedback, don't take it for granted. Because what I've also seen and learned that good feedback and only good feedback without bad one can spoil you, can make you think that you are really, king of the world, and actually you're not. You're a human and you're going to be making mistakes along with your career. I do hope there are not very many of them, but you have to learn from them. I had a really good discussion with one of the colleagues from IBM from India that came to Poland, and I was sharing with him that I received bad feedback, and I know I did bad, so I was a bit feeling down, and then he said to me, Michael, either you win, either you learn. So I would say that what is important to try to learn from feedback. It's not always possible. Some of the feedback is meant to harm you. So you have to know the difference between, is it something that is supposed to help me, or is it something that somebody said, to bring harm to me. But nevertheless, you should return back to this person saying, I believe that maybe there was some misunderstanding. Let me share about my intentions, because it's really, really important when you speak with someone. I think it is also a subject for the further discussion. on the intentions, but you should always also, thank for the feedback, because somebody did the efforts to give it to you. And from my experience, I can tell you that having a personal feedback, not anonymous feedback, it's so much better. It needs a shift in maybe an approach to it, but if you provide a safe space and the people will feel that this feedback is going to be reworked and is going to be something we've done, they can sign up to it. Because we know that giving anonymous feedback is easy. Most of the people do this on the internet every day. Yeah. They just
raging
whatever they want. They don't take the responsibility for the words, and this has to be managed properly.
Huge topic. Also, I guess that we have already answered on Maria's question. Have you learned something from bad feedback? Speaking on my behalf, and bad feedback does not have to be only in a personal, professional life. Also, it can be in a personal. I mean, out of work. And I would say that some of the instances when I received negative feedback were moments in time when I guess I grew more, the most, right? So when you get something that simply make you aware of things where you have a blind spot, right? So I guess that it's hard to accept it that you are not perfect, and of course we are not, but I guess those are the growing moments, I guess, in anyone's life, and I guess as a project manager, that are simply irreplaceable, I guess.
That's true to that. I 100% agree with this, Marco. A really good, honest, negative feedback can change your life completely.
They call it constructive feedback, not negative anymore.
Yeah, that there are some feedbacks that they might seem negative, but it's a lot of depends from what you are going to do with it. You can just say, no, it isn't me. I didn't do it. I say, no, I'm not that kind of a person. And but when you think about it, saying, I had to do something that this person has perceived me like this. So, and then you try to think, you venture inside your own head, inside your own soul, and they say, maybe there is something that I can do differently next time. And this is the moment that you grow. I've got a short, funny story that my first manager told me about 10 or 12 years ago when I was in my junior role. When I failed some task, and he said to me, Michael, I believe that you're lazy. And I said, there is some truth in that. But I said, from this day, try to do things with more diligence. Try to make them as best as you can, so you don't have to return to them anymore. Just don't, patch and do things poorly. Try to excel. And I said, okay, I try. And, this was one of the best advices in my career.
That's again huge topic. What is very important for me is that, especially when you are to provide a constructive feedback to someone that is of course not necessarily positive, you need to find this courage inside you to actually kind of confront the situation. And that's where we maybe venture to our last area of leadership and the soft skills. And maybe the first question that is very often asked is that, what is why leadership is so important? Is leadership the same as management? Why do they differ? are they mutually exclusive? So leadership and management. So what's your take on that? What is a manager for you, and what is a leader for you? Can they be the same person? They have to be different guys or girls. What's your personal take there?
You know, it's a really wide ask questions regarding the difference between manager and leader. To start with, I believe that majority of the manager tasks can be delegated, can be automized to start with. As it's for leader, it's the opposite. If you delegate them, that would make you a poor leader. And
that's interesting.
And for me to be a good leader, you have to have this little bit of magic in you. And the most important thing is for leader is that he has to like people in general. If you don't like people, if you are solely focused that I'm going to be a great leader, and by my leaderships and by my tasks, I will make a great leader. It means basically that you're a manager. It's just set up on the tasks rather than the people. And that's, I think, the biggest difference is the area where you put your most energy. Is it for the tasks? Is it for the people? Because if you want to be a great leader, you have to spend a tremendous amount of time with the people, for the people, and in our current times, and in some companies, it is not effective. The people don't see value in it. They see value in the completed deliveries. But this can be a good example if you're a project manager that is lacking those skills. You will probably, if you're going to be a really good project manager, really good manager, you're most likely going to deliver your project. But no one or very few from this project team would want to work with you on another project.
That's true.
So that's the basic for me, the difference in terms of the project management. But the topic is really wide. Really.
When we spoke on the topic some time ago, I also said that sometimes when people speak about managers and the difference between managers and leaders, sometimes this management part is taken more as on a negative note, but not necessarily it has to be that. Simply both things are needed, I guess. So for me, management is answering on things what we need to do, and leadership is answering on a question why we need to do it, and actually how to do it. And so when you are as a leader presenting this kind of a purpose, this clarity about outcome and why we need to do things, and then when we treat each other well, then we go to this management of tasks that simply has to be done. We have to implement certain things and as effectively as possible. So I guess that it's as a project manager, I guess that you are both in a way. So you need to kind of deliver on tasks. You have to implement them. Simply, you have a product at the end of a deliverable at the end of your project, and it has to be there. But then, how you do this and why you are doing this in that manner, I think makes all the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I can tell you that. I have met few leaders in my career that were actually not managers. Because being a leader, sometimes it's a natural thing. Sometimes it is your lead engineer. Sometimes it's your architect, lead developer, of whoever. So there were times when I was taking over some of the teams from another manager. So I was asking the question, who is the unofficial leader or the leader in this team? And some of them answer, it's me. Of course it's me. And I said, okay. So maybe you are not the best leader that they had if you think that you're all-knowing leader. but there were some people, and those leaders are creating opinions. That's you can be a manager. You can say, everybody will be working from now on with the blue shirts, and the people say, and they turn to one person saying, "What do you think?" And if this person that is unofficial leader says, "Yeah, okay," then those people say, "Yeah, sure." I have seen it's just an example, but I've seen such a situation. So it's really important for the project manager to identify this kind of unofficial leaders in your project, because if you treat them properly, if you focus on them, they're going to be more demanding of you, that's for sure. They're going to have a higher expectations. But if you are able to meet them, if you are able to work with them and see them as a partner, treat them equally, then you will have your project really delivered, and the people will be able to deliver this with joy and with excellence.
You answered actually on one of our questions, topics that we wanted to discuss about. And do you have to be on a certain position to be a leader?
No, you don't have to.
Yeah, so you said, I mean, it's sometimes someone from the team that actually is a true leader and unifier of a team, not necessarily even on any managerial position, right? Isn't it? So it's interesting. One of the questions that we receive often is that, can leadership be learned, or can it be taught, depending on what size you are? That's evergreen question, I guess. What's your take? Can you learn to be a leader?
Up to some degree. I think that the majority of the people can be leaders. Some of them will going to be great leaders, and I do believe that some of the people will need to work really, really hard to become, I would say, acceptable leader, while for someone it would be practically done with no effort. Me personally, I think that you have to have that little magic, in you, and having it's not enough. You need to, it's like a little seed. You need to cultivate it. You need to put a water to it. So you need to learn the techniques. You need to have a good mentor that shows you good practices. And honestly, you have to work with a lot of people. As I've seen, I've worked with both, with good people, with bad people. So this will help you to understand what kind of a person you would like to be as a leader, and what kind of person you definitely don't want to be as a leader. So I think that there is no simply yes or no answer to such a question. But from my experience, I think you have to have that little sparkle in yourself.
Yeah, there is a comment from Poonam: people's person. Are you a people's person, Michał?
Am I a people's person? To be quite honest, I cannot answer this question. The people has to answer. Am I a person?
That's a good one.
Because it would be kind of a self-articulating leader saying, "I'm a great leader." No, it is not you to decide.
But what you can answer is that, are people in your focus, right? So that's what you can say, and that how good you implement that intention of yours, then that's a question. Are you a good leader is something that I think you are right. You cannot answer, it wouldn't be right. But then what you can answer is that you care. You simply care for your team. And then that's what shows, right? And then, are you good in that implementation of your intent? It's another story.
Yes, it is another story, and I think this is one of those techniques that can make you a great leader. Because if you are caring about everyone, but you don't say this to them, they will not know about this, and they can perceive you as a person that doesn't care about them. So you have to be vocal. You have to, gather those feedback, face with the people, interact with them, share your personal touch with them, and respond to their feedback.
Absolutely. Before we continue, I would like to share a present actually with our participants on the call, because you may know that we are developing this leadership project management and leadership training, and as a matter of fact, we would like first to hear what do you think about discussion that we are having, what you would like to hear more. I think, Michał, that we need to repeat this session because it is simply too many topics that we need to talk. And in addition to what do you think about our conversation, and what you find useful, what you did not find useful, because both Michał and myself would like to hear some constructive feedback. In addition to that, actually, I've decided to give you 3 free accesses to our training that would appear on your top screen now. So actually, 3 of you who would click on this link quickly will get actually a free access to the training, and that's simply our present to you as a people who would like to share knowledge and actually hear feedback from you. So until you are clicking on the link and answering the questions, Michał, we can continue. But also, guys, please do write your questions, so that we still have some 13 minutes to reply to those. One of the now leaning Michał to what we spoke about leadership. Now, from your experience, how leadership affects actually project success, how it affects employee performance. What's your take there?
Leadership is in most of the time, when things go accordingly to plan, leadership job is to maintain the state, maintain the positive vibe, the positive feedbacks. But if there are troubles, and if there are problems, issues during the course execution of the project, which are always, it really, depending on what level of leadership you have, it's going to be really dependent on how well will you resolve those problems. And the majority of the problems are usually, from my experience, connected with the 2 people that either disagreeing, either had understood each other improperly, either have a conflict of interest. So, having a good leadership workshop background will help you to resolve such things easily, and therefore your project success is more likely to come.
What are, from your point of view, now being also a team manager, team lead, and having these not only a project manager, but I guess that it leans one another. What are the values that you value the most? What are the values that you simply think that someone has to have in order to be a good project manager and a leader? What actually is very close to each other?
Yeah. You need to have a certain degree of self-consciousness. You have to know who you are. You have to know what kind of processes your brain and your soul is driving. You have to be, or you should be, well organized. You can learn by doing and by other things, but if you are well organized, it helps you a lot more. And as I said before, you have to like people, because while running the project, you're not going to be doing this on your own. You're going to be interacting with a lot of people, and having this leadership skills will make those people to willingly and cheeringly to work with you as well.
Is there, speaking about that, is there any way to answer the question which leadership style is the best? What, speaking about, let's say these preferable values, but then which leadership style is the best? Do you have some answer to that?
Yes, yours, your own. This is the best question that you can get. Try to figure it out what kind of how you would like to be led, and then try to implement it. I think if, especially in terms of leadership, you have to be really true to what you believe, and you have to be really honest, and you have to be authentic. I think this is one of the key items for the good leader. It has to be authentic. If the people are not believing in what you're saying, that you're doing something wrong, or you're trying to be or position yourself where you don't belong. Sorry.
That's huge. I guess that often we spoke about it in different occasions, but I'm not sure that we are all aware how quickly we read if someone is not honest, right? Or it's simply if you are not saying a truth and actually imagining some of the reasons why you took some decision, it's you are read quickly, right? So
yeah,
that's interesting. So I guess this authenticity, integrity, let's say, it's something that is of absolute priority. Before we go to the next one, guys, don't forget to ask questions. We still have some 8 minutes, and thank you very much for answering survey. So please do let us know what you would like to hear more about, what was not so good in webinar. Don't actually be afraid that we will be offended. We would actually like it very much, because that means that our next conversation can be even better. Michał, when leadership matters most, that's one of the questions that we are hearing. So when does it matter most?
Leadership for me matters the most, especially in the big ventures, in the big organization, maybe not organization, in the big projects, especially when you are leading not only engineers but managers as well. The people that also aspire to be a leader or are already a leader. So I think this is key important, that if you need to lead the leaders, you have to be good at it.
Yeah, how it, yes, exactly. So how it transpired through layers of communication channels, right? So if you have a complex organization, then you have managers, then second line managers, then you have a third layer of management, and then actually how you form your messages so that they transpire through overall organization, right?
Yeah, the people are always looking up for the direction. So if you have a good leader on top, I know this is quite obvious, but I have seen that it was not like this on many occasions, unfortunately. That we say that the fish gets spoiled from the head, and it's absolutely true. If on the very top you have a person that does not want to be a leader, or has its own maybe inadequate version of it, it gets sent to the further levels of management and further. And seeing that after few iterations, it can be really, really bad. it can be really bad because the people add their expectations, add their fears, and add their agenda to this. So it has to be, I would say, kind of monitored and talked about. And a good leader would listen not only those people that are his direct reports, but also speak with the people that are really at the first layer of the employees.
That's excellent. That's very well put. I think that's very important, so that everyone who is on such a position actually needs to listen to those who are on the first line of a services, isn't it?
It is.
Guys, you have still 30 seconds to click on a free access to a training and to answer on a survey. And thank you for those who already did it. And then we'll be returning to full screen again. And partially, Michał, you answered on a question when leadership fails, right? When it goes south, right?
Yes, I did.
It's amazing how actually organization is able to replicate behaviors of a leader.
Yeah,
and that's
unfortunately it does. And the damage it causes, it can be really quick, and time to recover from it can be, or the possibility of recovering from it can sometimes be really impossible.
I can sign that from my own experience, and I think that we both have both positives and negatives, and that actually that's very good when you can see some things in practice, so that no one needs to tell you some things if you went through them, right?
Yeah.
Michał, we are close to the full hour and a half of a talk, and it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for doing this with for us all listening to you, and I hope that we will be able to repeat it sometime in the future again.
Yeah, I would like to thank you for the invite and for the possibility of sharing my experience. And I believe, Marco, there are a lot more people smarter than me and more interested than me that would like to come and an interview with you. So I'm putting myself at the end of the queue.
No, please don't. But we'll try to find them. That's for sure. And we both of us know a lot of smart people, and we will
yes,
go.
We do.
Yeah, and we will go one conversation by another, and I guess that this kind of a knowledge sharing and experience sharing is hopefully beneficial for. So guys, if you like it, put a thumb up. If you didn't like, put thumb down. We both like both of those. So next to your chat box, you have a thumbs up and thumbs down. So good, Michał, we have some thumbs up. That's good.
Yeah. And thank you everyone for on the call for taking the time to listen to both of us. It means really a lot for Marco and myself that you have decided to take part of your life and listen to us. Thank you.
Absolutely, huge thank you for everyone. And later, of course, this talk will be also online later, and you'll be able to also return back or share with others, so that simply we will continue to live in online space. So
not for long, I hope.
Exactly. Michał, thank you once again, guys. Thank you once again, and have a great evening. And thank you for being with us. Michał, thank you once again.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marco. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.